Welcome to Embody Safety with Eva, and today we will learn the missing skills that are more important than learning red flags or digesting more information, especially if you want to feel safe, supported, and loved in your relationships. I will give you 4 simple steps based in somatic work that will help you build secure attachment with yourself, with your body, and with your instincts. They will help take away any fears that you might have about losing yourself in relationships or choosing wrong, because what we will do today is that we will start building the foundation of self-trust. From a nervous system perspective, learning to avoid unhealthy relationships is not the same as learning to choose and build healthy ones, because our system doesn't choose relationships around what our mind knows. It builds and chooses relationships around what feels familiar to our system. The women I work with already come to me very well informed, but digesting more information, as useful as they are, tend to create 2 responses. The first one is that simply listening to more information tends to overwhelm a system that is carrying usually a lot of stress from unhealthy relationships that the system hasn't processed yet. And then the second response is that simply learning more about red flags keeps our system in a state of bracing and hypervigilance around what might go wrong, because digesting more information doesn't create more safety in your body. If you find yourself in a place where you've already digested a lot of information, but you still don't trust yourself to choose a healthy relationship, to build one, or to not lose yourself inside of a relationship, then what you want to do is to build a nervous system that feels like healthy love or healthy relationship is not too good to be true. And this is exactly where somatic work helps us close the gap between what you know you don't want, what your body is available to receive right now, and what you do want. And today I will give you 4 simple foundational practices that I use in one-on-one work, but also in the Sanctuary Practice Portal, that will help you build safe, secure relationships without having to feel like you constantly need to brace or stay hypervigilant or learn more information. The first thing we do when we work together is that we strengthen your relationship with interoception. Interoception is the feeling of knowing what is happening in your body. It is the ability to feel sensations within your body. For instance, if you are warm or cold, hungry, if your heart is racing, and it helps you understand what is going on inside of your body. And from there, you can learn to correctly interpret the signals that your body is giving you at all times. Because our nervous system is reading other people's nervous systems at all times through small cues like their facial expression, their tone of voice, their posture, eye contact, the feeling of tension or warmth inside of their system. And usually our body and our system receives those cues so much sooner than our logical mind can figure out what's going on or if the other person is actually safe. And at the same time, our body is internally responding to all those cues. For instance, as unease or ease in your chest, a drop or bracing in your stomach, or a feeling of relaxation, a feeling of like I need to perform, or I feel more like myself with this person. And what's amazing about your body's ability to read, receive, and then respond to these cues is that they are coming from inside of your body. It means that you don't have to read another book or listen to another podcast to figure out if someone is safe or healthy relationship partner. You simply want to learn to read and listen and understand to the signals that your own body is already giving you. And so why do we actually disconnect from interoception interoception very early on. Staying connected to our body as children is safe only when we are surrounded by people and environment that helps us make sense of all of those feelings and sensations that we are experiencing. If a child feels fear or anger or overwhelm, but the adults around are emotionally unavailable or inconsistent or critical, then for the little system, experiencing those emotions alone can feel too big to handle. And so our nervous system learned to adapt. Instead of looking inward for the answers, we look outward for confirmation, validation. And instead of trusting what our body is telling us, we looked to the adult for their facial expression, their mood, whether we are being good or helpful to avoid conflict. And this is how our body learned to shut down the signals that are coming from our system and that are always reading the environment accurately. And instead, we prioritize staying connection in order to survive inside of that environment. Many capable women, when I help them to slow their systems down, realize that they are entering relationships with one question in mind. And that question is, am I being chosen? And what that question does to your system is that it makes you leave your body and stay hyper attuned to the other person's moods or hypersensitive to their rejection or acceptance. And so when we start building this inner secure attachment, what we do is that we start asking a different question. And the question is, what does my body tell me about being with this person? This is where having a strong connection to your interoception, to your body's internal signals, is like building a bridge to secure attachment. Because every time you listen in, you build more self-trust. And this is what somatic work and also the sanctuary portal helps you to do. It helps you to cultivate the skill of trusting your body's cues, also listening to them and understanding them and interpreting them correctly. The second step we do, the second practice we do is we help you build a feeling of safe inner home or safe haven. Because as children, we disconnected from our emotions and the cues not only because they were too big to handle, but also because we were alone in them. And what we do is we help you build this feeling of inner safety or inner home somatically by creating repeated small experiences of safety. And one of the tools we use, for instance, in the sanctuary is resourcing. And resourcing basically means that we help your body notice what is already even slightly safe, supportive, or stable inside of your environment, so that your body doesn't have to stay locked in that bracing or survival all the time, but over time it can open itself to receive the goodness that is already in your life. And this inner safety helps us to build flexibility inside of our system, but also in our emotional range, because we become less reactive when something comes up, when a trigger inside of a relationship or when you are dating comes up, because you know how to find your way back home so much faster. The third step we do together when we work on inner secure attachment somatically is that we help connect your system with reality, and you start receiving from people instead of trying to change them or teach them how to show up for you. Insecure attachment at its core is usually a younger part of us trying to handle our adult relationships that feel overwhelming to her. And we usually know that we are relating from a younger part because we are not relating to the person as they are, but as we hope that they can be. So that the younger part is hyper focused on their potential and what they might become and how they might choose her, instead of accepting the person or seeing the person for who they are right now. You usually know that the younger part is taking over because you feel like you are waiting for your life to start. It feels like once I have this relationship or once I feel secure inside of my current relationship, then I will finally feel accepted and like I'm worthy of being chosen or worthy of being loved. And then my life will change. Then I will suddenly feel confident, or then I can start living my life to the fullness. So for now, just notice where in your relationships you feel like you are waiting for the other person to choose you, or like you are waiting for your life in general to start. That's a cue that the younger part is taking over your relationships and she is not connected to the reality of who that person is and who you are as your adult self right now and what you are capable of. And when we work with this part of you somatically, we give her the direct experience that she was looking for, the experience of feeling accepted and chosen and supported and protected, and the experience of belonging. And we do it in a way where your adult self learns to listen to these parts, to understand them, and also to meet them so they don't have to look for the closure or the longing outside of yourself. And this is where the younger part also can come down from the fantasy and come back into the reality of your life, because she knows that now when she comes back home to you, she will be met with kindness, with acceptance, and with support. So she no longer has to look for those outside of herself all the time. And also, then from the adult self, you can recognize people who are able to do the same for you and meet you with kindness, with compassion, and with support. And by learning to receive your own kindness and acceptance and attention, your body learns how to receive in relationships over time. And the last step in building inner secure attachment and feeling more secure in your relationships is learning to respond from that steadiness that you cultivated within yourself instead of reacting from the urgency or fear or scarcity that is usually driven by the younger part of us. Inner secure attachment means that love becomes something that I can receive and no longer something I need to earn or work hard for or change other people for or perform for, because I am no longer creating those internal conditions for myself. I am giving myself the love, support, and acceptance that I've been looking for freely and consistently. I'm expecting to be met by those same conditions in my relationships as well. This is where somatic work helps us to live from and relate from our adult self, because over time it teaches your system to notice the difference between relating from the younger part and the adult self. When our younger part is online in our relationships, usually our relationships feel very heavy, dramatic, loaded. There is a lot of urgency. It also feels like we are waiting to be chosen, and it feels like we don't have that agency to choose for ourselves, because we don't see clearly what we bring to the relationship and how valuable we are. We feel small, we often feel insignificant, or we feel like there is a lot of urgency, and that's where that feeling of waiting to be chosen can come in. When you are relating from your adult self, on the other hand, it feels like there is this spaciousness. There is spaciousness inside of your own system, but there is also this space between you and the other person where that agency and choice has come back to you, and now you feel like I can decide how I want to respond when conflict arises. And it no longer feels like your self-worth or self-esteem are on the line. If something comes up in your relationship, like a conflict or disagreement, you no longer feel like I cannot survive if this relationship doesn't work out, because your adult self now has all the resources I was talking about in this video, and you know that you will land in that inner home. And as you strengthen the connection to the present moment, to your adult self, now we can also process some of the stress responses from the unhealthy relationships, like the fear of being forgotten or abandoned or not feeling seen or heard. Because when conflict arises or something challenging arises in your relationships or your inner world, now there is the resource adult self that can stay with your body for as long as it needs to for the activation or that urgency or fear to get processed, because your body knows how to process those difficult emotions and sensations. It simply needs us to stay with them for long enough so it can do its job. When we practice these 4 steps consistently, that's when we will start seeing tangible results in our relationships, and of course the relationship we have with ourselves, because you will stop mistaking anxiety and activation with chemistry. You will recognize and leave people who are not a fit much sooner, because you know that you have that safe haven to come back to. Your nervous system recovers so much faster after a hard conversation in your relationship or after noticing mixed signals in dating. You can come back to yourself instead of spiraling for days or falling for that old chase dynamic. You will receive your energy and agency back because you are no longer using them to change yourself or change others. And that's when relationships become so much more easier, clearer, and supportive, and also mutual. Your body learns to receive warmth, connection, and affection, and the confidence you have within yourself will come from that safe home that you built inside. And from there, wherever you go, you will feel like you belong because you have your own back. If you would like to learn these 4 steps for yourself and show up in your relationships in a secure way, I would love to support you. You can either join us in the Sanctuary Practice portal, or you can apply for one-on-one somatic work with me below. I appreciate you being here with me today.